Hello, we're in England and we're going to discuss this Maltese print. This is yet another item with dual nationality. It is a British artist called Aileen Kennedy. It is a Maltese subject. So this is near the Esplanade in Mdina in Malta. On the left you have Maltese Mdina. On the right you have the view over to Harley towards Valletta, towards the sea. So you have this square in Malta and you have a Victorian building, and the Victorian building is a flat topped Maltese stone building, limestone, and it has the shutters, the louver shutters, it has the balustrades, the iron grill over the door, we would call it a fanlight in England, a couple of cypress trees, and you have a street going down each side. And this is what it looks like now, and this is what it looked like in 1981, and that's pretty much what it looked like when the building was built. I guess that building was built in 1850-60, that's my guess. Built inside the walls of Mdina, which of course is a much older place. This is a limited edition, not many, 160. I think once you get into limited editions over 250, you're starting to stretch the credibility. I noticed today the Banksy and some of the Banksy works and some of the Hearst works run into the thousands, and I wonder really how valuable they ought to be. They're valuable, but how valuable ought they be, should they be? This one is slightly faded. I don't know the method of printing. There are so many different techniques of printing that I would rather not say what it is or try and pretend I know what it is. I don't know what it is. Is it screen printed? I don't know. Is it block printed? I don't know. It's not got a huge amount of colours. It's got the colour of the paper, the grey, which is back in essence, the dark green, the browny ochre colour. So for a printer, some blue as well. So for a printer, it's not too much work. And by good fortune in the mid 20th century, the style and the look they were looking for was this sort of look. They weren't going for a print or a reproduction of something with lots of different colours. I mean, there are artists who did go further. Obviously, this is John Piper, for example, from the same sort of period, actually a bit later, a bit earlier, and a little more complicated. But the thing about this is it's relatively easy to reproduce. And while we're talking about Malta, if you look at Victor Passmore and Trevelyan, you'll notice that both of those artists like to use a few colours, and I have my own views about it. For example, Trevelyan wrote a book about etchings and printing, a technical book, which was published in more than one country, and he knew about the printing. And I suspect Passmore and these artists were the same. They were aware that the fewer colours they used, the more money they would make. Let's be honest, that's what it means. So Victor Passmore is the main offender. He has these abstract pictures, which sometimes have 2 or 3 colours in great big blocks, and I really wonder whether he was merely trying to make works which were easy to reproduce, easy to sell. That's my suspicion. I might be wrong. Trevelyan had more intricate designs, but again, when you drill down, not many colours, 2, 3, 4 colours. Same here. So she worked elsewhere. I recently had another one from the Dordogne. So she travelled around like many of these artists, and I have seen this scene painted by other artists, and I believe I saw for sale in Malta this scene, the original one, a couple of years ago, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't buy it. But I think it's a lovely thing. I think the colour is dead on. It evokes, for an Englishman, it evokes anything with a flat roof evokes exotic warm climate. You've got the old stone wall, you've got the strong sunlight with the shade falling onto these alcoves. I think the lovely thing, and if you know the place, it means a lot more to you. There's a little restaurant down here. There is, as I say, all of the viewpoints and places to look at it in this wonderful place called Mdina in Malta. So it's limited edition. They're very popular limited editions. The market is growing very fast and expanding fast. Young people are buying them. Older people are buying them as well as the originals, which are getting extremely expensive. And they're collected in North America, China, all over Europe. We sold a picture to China today, a scroll. They have no hesitation in buying things from Europe and having it posted. There's no resistance really, and it's the same the other way around. They have no resistance in sending things to Europe, as we are aware of. So we have the printing. If you look up screen printing as one method of printing, there is a huge technical side to it. For example, just with the paper itself, there are different types of paper, but with the screen printing, if I try to explain to you how it's done, you will really be, and you don't know how it works, you really will be baffled. But I'll give you an attempt of what screen printing is. A wire mesh screen, which looks like a tea strainer in material, but it's large, is put in a paint, a photosensitive emulsion. It's not a paint, it's an emulsion. And this emulsion is changed to different emulsions which pick up different colours. And once the emulsion is presented to the original, the appropriate emulsion held in the screen by capillary action, the emulsion is thick and just is held in the screen, sets where the colour is or colour isn't, depending on which emulsion you use, and it's allowed to dry, and it's then rinsed in a bucket in a sink, and this screen will reveal the part that the printer wants to colour only. So there will be one for the greens, there'll be one for the blacks, there'll be one for the blue, there'll be one for the orange, the ochre, and there will be a set of screens, mesh screens, which have been dipped in the emulsion, presented to the original, dried and rinsed, and then what happens then is the printer takes the screen and applies the colour using the dried screen, and he does a green, he does a black, he does a blue, he does an ochre. It's 4, and the skill of getting it lined up and not spilling it is hugely important. I would say it's harder than painting. And there are other types of printing. One of the types of printing that's come into the market is Giclee, and you'll see advertised Giclee prints, Giclee. They're inkjet prints, and there is no romance at all in owning an inkjet print. You may as well have a page cut out of a magazine. They're very good quality, and the paper often is shiny and white, too white, and they make big ones, and some of them are limited editions. I'm not sure about the desirability of a Giclee print. I'm sure in 30 years, if I'm still alive, I'll be buying them as well. But at the moment, I don't like them at all. So you have printing, traditional printing using devices and presses and ink and skill and an artisan, and you have printing by inkjet in a factory. So when we say it's a print, there's a lot more going on, and I think if you can get an early print, this is 81, this is before the Giclee was invented, 10 years before, of a reasonable number, a reasonable release of a known subject, with this beautiful impressed line around the print where it's been pressed, I think that it's desirable. This is a sort of metal frame you get on these 1980s prints, late 70s, early 80s. It was an expensive thing in its day. I'm going to leave it as it is. It's been in a gallery, like lots of them have. Anyway, I hope that's been interesting, and if you have time, look up these various ways of printing. It's fascinating, bordering on the tedious, but it's part of the business. And once you can sort of understand the different types of printing, then it will help you choose. Thank you.